It is preview season here on Armchair Analysis, and today we're talking all about the Alabama Crimson Tide. Year two for Kalen DeBoer. What does it look like? How can they improve off of 9-4, missing the college football playoff? Can they get back to the Alabama standard? That's the question at hand today. We'll talk all about that here on the episode. Welcome in again to Armchair Analysis. It is Thursday, July 24th, 2025. If you're new around here, leave a like, subscribe, comment down below. We're trying to hit 150 subscribers by the time we hit the end of July, which is only a week away now. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. I think we can get there. As of the time of me recording this, which is yesterday, we are at 137. We're 13 away. I think we can get 13 more within the next week. What do you guys say? Appreciate y'all either way for tuning in, being around here. And let's go ahead and talk about Alabama. Last year, this team went 9-4, 5-3 in SEC play. It was definitely a down year. A year I think they were disappointed about to a lot of degrees. The biggest thing is the way it closed out with a loss to Michigan in the Citrus Bowl, if I'm not mistaken. The ReliaQuest Bowl. I'm sorry, wrong Florida bowl game. The point being, they lost to Michigan in that game. And it was a disappointing game. That offense didn't get going. That was supposed to be Jalen Milroe's send-off. It was anything but. And what we kind of saw was, throughout the course of last year, it was kind of the, I don't want to say the beginning of something, of a new era. Because, I mean, it was. But it's, I don't think things are going to change in the way that people are expecting. Alabama's not just going to go away. They don't recruit that way. They don't play that way. And if they start to fall off, Kalen DeBoer is going to be gone. I think we all can agree with that. The hardest job in the world is to follow up somebody like Nick Saban. And Kalen DeBoer is trying to do it his way. I don't know how it's going to work. I can't say I honestly know. But what I can say is that we have an idea of what this season is going to look like. So that's what we're going to bring to you. Again, 9-4, 5-3 last year. They averaged 33.8 points per game. That was 22nd in college football. To help out with that number, because it really wasn't enough, they bring in Ryan Grubb back from the Seattle Seahawks, back down. Was previously with Kalen DeBoer and with Washington at the Huskies. Yeah, that's going to be interesting. They also have 3 offensive coordinators. We'll kind of talk about that. Points per game allowed, they allowed 17.4. That was 10th in college football. Turnover margin was plus at 0.3. That was a 40th in college football. Number 3 recruiting class, number 21 portal class with 12 commitments coming in through that, and we'll talk about some of them, even though there's really only one that I think we're going to be talking a lot about this year. It's Kalen DeBoer's show. We kind of know that. We are now a second year removed from the Nick Saban era. Ryan Grubb comes in, and he is, in my estimation, the way I understand it, going to be the primary play caller. But they do have Nick Sheridan, who's going to be a co-offensive coordinator. Kind of get a chance to learn the system. Nick Sheridan was the offensive coordinator last year. Things obviously did not quite work out. And then they also have Jamarcus Shepard listed as an offensive coordinator. I don't really know what the deal is there, or if that's why that would be the case, but it's the first time I've really ever seen a 3-coordinator system. But we all know who's calling the plays, and that's Ryan Grubb. At least it should be. I would expect it to be. Defense stays the same as Kane Womack, and Kane Womack did great last year. I mean, people don't like his style, and it took him a while to get kind of adjusted to the pieces on this defense. Once he did, it really turned around, and they became a ball-hawking machine on defense, forcing 30 turnovers last year, or turnover opportunities. I explain this every video. Turnover opportunities, interceptions, and forced fumbles. Obviously, fumble recoveries. A little bit more of a skewed stat when it comes to like bounce a ball and stuff like that. We're not going to talk about things like that. We'll talk about the opportunities that you create as a defense. And they create 30 of those. They have 6 returning starters on offense, mostly on the offensive line. They have 3 returning starters on the line. Caden Proctor, if I'm not mistaken, Parker Brailsford, Jaden Roberts are the other 2. You have Jam Miller returning at running back, expected to be a big part of this offense. Jeremy Bernard, Brian Williams return. Those are 3 good players to have returning. The question mark begins at quarterback, and the expected starter is Ty Simpson, but we also have the option or opportunity if you're looking at it that way of Austin Mack and or Keelan Russell. Now, one of those is more likely than the other in my mind, and that's Austin Mack is more likely than Keelan Russell. The reason I believe that is that Austin Mack came with Kalen DeBoer from Washington over to Alabama, trying to become kind of the next Michael Penix. He's not left-handed, but kind of trying to play that role. That's why he was recruited there to begin with. Ty Simpson seems like the safest option. He's been in the program the longest at Alabama, but he has not been in the Kalen DeBoer system the longest. And then Keelan Russell is just a freak athlete quarterback who's coming out of high school out of Texas and was originally committed to SMU, if you guys remember. Decommitted, wanted to go to Alabama, wanted to play for Kalen DeBoer. And, I mean, he is the real deal. I don't think there's any doubt that Keelan Russell is going to be a really good player. But how good can he be early in his career? Question to be determined. And when we look at that, that's what really hurts me the most when it talks about this Alabama team, is because I think that this quarterback position is swaying my opinion a lot in a direction that I don't fully agree with, but I don't disagree at the same time. I hope that makes sense, and I'll explain later. At running back, again, Jam Miller, and then Richard Young is going to be your number 2 back. I think Jam Miller is going to be the majority, getting the majority of carries. Of course, they lose Justice Haynes, and I think they would love to have him stay, but they lose Justice Haynes. He went up to Michigan, of course, and now it's the Richard Young show as RB2. Wide receiver, Jeremy Bernard, Ryan Williams, two guys who are walking out of here kind of as, Ryan Williams came in and just stole the show immediately, but Jeremy Bernard became a really good second option last year, and I think he's going to continue to build off of what he was able to do. They bring in Isaiah Horton from Miami. That's going to be an interesting addition as well. Where does he fit in? Probably playing the slot, if I were to guess. And then I think it's going to be Cole Adams as wide receiver 4, but I don't honestly know. I think there's any... You can put Rico Scott, the true freshman, out there. You can put Jalen Hale out there. I really don't know. I'm saying Cole Adams. I'm probably wrong, knowing the way that I typically go with some of these wide receiver predictions and who I expect to be there. I'm just kind of going by the order of the depth chart that I was able to find. Josh Cuevas expected to be your tight end in 2025. And then again, you got those 3 returning starters. This team graded at 39th and 40th in Power 5, so bottom half of the Power 5 in pass block and run block grades, according to Pro Football Focus. You move over to the defensive side of the ball, and 11 of 11 players returned from 2024. We're talking a little Iowa, yesterday. 11 players from the 24 roster projected starters. Same thing here for Alabama. They got 7 of those guys returning from last year. Some of those leaders include Deontay Lawson, who had 76 tackles last season. He'll be returning at linebacker. Tim Keenan, III, is your leading player in tackles for loss with 8 and sacks as well, with 2.5 sacks. That's going to be the big question mark for me this year, is can Alabama produce plays in the backfield? Only returning 8 tackles for loss. They really didn't have that many last year given previous seasons. And then only 2.5 sacks, being able to return as your leading sack getter. If I'm not mistaken, and I'm going to go double check, but I believe the leader was only at maybe 5.5. Let's go ahead and double check here. I apologize for this because I didn't know, but it is 5. It was Jahad Campbell who had 5 sacks last year. Quandarius Robinson had 4, and then Tim Keenan with 2.5. Deontay Lawson with 2. I mean, a lot of the guys that had 2 sacks or less weren't even defensive linemen. They just didn't get the production on the D-line last year. And when you're returning guys like LT Overton, Tim Keenan, Quay Russell is supposed to be really solid as well. Will they be able to find that production in the backfield again? Will they be able to pressure quarterbacks, create issues, and really create turnovers based off the pass rush? If they can do that, it really changes my opinion wholeheartedly of this team, just simply off of what the defense can do. They return a lot in the secondary. Damani Jackson, Xavier Brown, both starting cornerbacks last year. They're expected to be really solid. As a matter of fact, Xavier Brown had 3 interceptions last season. You have Bray Hubbard and Keon Sabb. Bray Hubbard had 3 interceptions last year. Both those guys tied for the team lead last season. And then Keon Sabb had 2 himself. And So the secondary is great. And when you look at the Husky position, if I'm not mistaken what they call it, Deshaun Jones is expected to be playing that position. He's a senior. He's got a lot of experience. What can he bring to the table as well in his senior season? This team had, I think, 11 players, maybe 9 or 10 players, somewhere between 9 and 11 players force a fumble last year. They're expecting similar in 2025. And again, they're expecting guys to create interceptions. And when you have an experienced secondary like this, it's going to help. It's going to help the pass rush because not everybody's going to have that first or second read open. It's going to help turnover opportunities. If they can do that and bump that number up and really take care of the football offensively, they had 30 turnover opportunities and yet only had a plus 0.3 turnover differential. That tells me they were not taking care of the football very well last year. You have to turn that around. And, when you look at this team as a whole, it's very simple to me. Take better care of the ball, get to the quarterback defensively, and then how quickly, and this is the biggest question for me, is how quickly does Ryan Grubb, this new offensive coordinator, mesh with one of these quarterbacks? Because you need to find it, and you need to find it quick. It's a road trip to Tallahassee, and while Florida State's not going to be a college football playoff contender or even a ACC contender, Florida State is not going to be a team you can just walk in and half-ass your way to a win. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen against Wisconsin, even though that game's in Tuscaloosa, and I really don't think that's going to be a close game. But then, even then, you come out of your bye week, as does Georgia come out of their bye week, their first one, and you get this matchup of what was a game of the year last year in Athens this time. Can your quarterback go on the road to 2 tough environments in the first 4 games and come out of there 1-1 even, let alone 2-0? Those are the questions you have to ask, because then it really can turn around your entire season and really flip this thing ass backwards. And I apologize. I try to stay pretty professional, but look, you go to Missouri, you go to South Carolina, and you go to Auburn, on top of Florida State and Georgia. Those are 5 of the toughest environments in college football that you are going to go to. I would say they are 5 of the top 20. And you're telling me you got to take a brand new quarterback into every one of those and expect to come out of those with wins? That's the question we're asking right now. That is the question that I'm asking to you, especially if you're an Alabama fan. What do you truly expect out of these guys this year? Because this quarterback position does not breed confidence. It doesn't. Not even close. The best case scenario is somebody wins the starting job early in fall camp. Because I don't think there's a true starter. I don't care what anybody says. I genuinely cannot care less what anybody says that's not in that program. And even in that program, nobody is going to sit here and tell me to a point where I believe it, that they know who the quarterback of Alabama is going to be on August 30th when they walk into Doak Campbell Stadium. Not as of July 23rd, they don't. So with that said, let's go ahead and predict the schedule. Let's go ahead and pull it up for you so you can take a look at it for yourself. And again, it's not easy. You got road trips: Florida State, Georgia, Missouri, South Carolina, Auburn. You host Vandy, who beat you last year, Tennessee, LSU, Oklahoma. I'm not going to count Wisconsin. I don't think Wisconsin's going to be a tough one. Let's go ahead and predict it. Got that road trip against Florida State, and while I've just said everything I said, I think that the defense is going to be good enough to create issues and get them to win early against Florida State. They'll beat ULM. No, 2007 is not repeating itself. And then they will also beat Wisconsin. They're going to start 3-0, and I'm not even questioning any of those picks. I'm wholeheartedly confident that they win all 3 of those. Here's where it gets interesting. You start this with this road game against Georgia, coming off of a bye week, but Georgia's coming off of their own bye week. I'm going to trust Kirby Smart off of a bye week at home over whoever's at quarterback for Alabama being ready to go in that environment. Georgia's going to win that game. You'll get your revenge back from Vanderbilt last year. I think that one thing is for certain is that Kane Womack figured his stuff out after this game last year. And certainly they were not great. They had some issues. It also included a 24-3 loss to Oklahoma, but at the same time, you lost to Oklahoma because you couldn't move the football. Point remains, Kane Wommack figured stuff out after this game, and I think he's got a very solid idea of how he's going to defend the exact same offense again in 2025. I'm going to take Bama to win that one. They'll win at Missouri because I just think that no matter how much struggle Alabama's offense has this season, the Missouri offense is going to struggle just as much. Defensively, this is going to be a great game. I think we're going to see first team to 20 wins this thing. If any of them hit 20, it's going to be a fun football game. But I think Alabama gets the job done just based on the pure talent of the team. You go into another home game, coming back home, facing Tennessee, third Saturday in October. And this one's going to be tough. I think that, look, I'm not high on Tennessee. I think that they're kind of coming back down to earth this year. But one thing I will say is that I don't count out Joey Aguilar and what he can do. I've seen him play, obviously being familiar with the App State program. And I think that Tennessee is getting slightly underrated based on what they can do. But I think that at the end of the day, we're going to start to find this team maybe starting to get a little rhythm offensively. I think they'll be able to move the ball and get the win over Tennessee. And they'll be 6-1 going into this South Carolina game. On the road. And this one's coming straight to Williams-Brice. And look, this is going to be a tough one because this is a game that you should have lost last year, if we're being honest. And this is in the middle of a tough stretch for both Alabama and South Carolina. Who's going to be the most fresh? Who's going to be the most ready to go? I think that this game, truthfully, falls on how you perform in another tough environment. And I'm gonna be honest. I don't think they're going to. I think that this is going to be a game that South Carolina is able to get control of. They feel like they should have won last year, and they are going to pull this one off, giving Alabama their second loss of the year. You get a bye week before you face LSU, and I'm just double checking to see LSU's schedule one more time. And both teams coming off of a bye week to face each other. This game being in Tuscaloosa seems to be where LSU has the majority of their magic happen, is in Tuscaloosa. And I think it's going to happen again. I'm taking LSU to win. I think they are just a better team at this point. Certainly offensively more competent. And that's not to say that Alabama's incompetent. I'm just saying, I'm using that term loosely. I think LSU gets the job done, wins this game. You come out of that, and it's kind of must-win scenario because you can probably make the playoffs with this strength of schedule with the wins you have in hand. But I think this is a must-win game, obviously, against Oklahoma at this point. And I don't think they'll get it done. I think Oklahoma is going to be the better team and be able to win this game. Leading to your final two, you'll win against Eastern Illinois. And then a road trip to Auburn. I think they'll win this game too. Really buying more into Alabama than I am Hugh Freeze. Putting them at 8-4, 4-4 in SEC play, which is certainly not going to cut it. I think it's going to take some time to truly be able to cut it. And when I say that, I'm saying that this wasn't a roster built for Kalen DeBoer to come in and do whatever he wanted. Yes, it's a roster full of a lot of talented athletes, but the offensive scheme that they like to run is not set up. And what tells me that the most is that Austin Mack isn't the front runner for quarterback. Because if he was, given that that's a guy that DeBoer handpicked, then it tells me everything I need to know about the quarterback position. The running back position is largely undecided and undetermined outside of Jam Miller, who, if he gets hurt, what happens? And we don't want injuries. But the same thing could be said about Ryan Williams, because as soon as Ryan Williams, if something were to happen to him, or Jeremy Bernard for that matter, the focus then becomes on whoever is still healthy. Isaiah Horton can maybe take a little bit of the load off. Maybe they can be a little bit better, but it's going to be difficult to watch, I think, early in the year. And if they don't figure it out by the time they hit that South Carolina game or even the Missouri game, we're in for probably a very, very interesting season for Alabama. And that is kind of just where I stand right now. I think this team certainly has potential to do more than this and maybe even get back to SEC title game, maybe even get to a national championship appearance or at least a playoff appearance. I need to see it. I have to see it, because if you couldn't do it with last year's roster, how am I to expect that this offense can do it any differently? The answer is I can't. I just simply can't. So for right now, I'm kind of, unfortunately, it feels odd to say, kind of in a wait and see mode. I will gladly be wrong, because I think this team has some serious potential, especially on defense. I just want to see the offense play a game or two first before I really make a determination of what they'll be. It'll be interesting, and I know Alabama fans, you're here right now saying you're wrong. You're probably already typing a comment saying you're wrong. How could you? You're high. The same thing Missouri fans are doing, and they have much less right than you do. But it'll be interesting, to say the least. And look, again, I'm not saying Alabama's going to be bad. I'm not even saying they're going to miss the playoff. As a matter of fact, these are not finalized until I give you guys my full conference standings predictions later in August. So we still got time. This could change. And it certainly has potential for that. So again, let me know what you guys think. Let me know if there's something I may have missed on this roster that you guys would have liked me to cover. And yeah, appreciate y'all tuning in. Again, we're trying to hit 150 subscribers. I hit the wrong button. Before August 1st, and I know Alabama fans, you probably don't like me right now, but I promise you, we got college football all year round. And if you want me to cover Alabama a little more, subscribing certainly will help get that done. It helps me understand who wants to see their teams covered and such. But we cover everybody. Look, we're not just a front runner program who will only cover the teams that are winning, only cover the top 10 and the top 25, and leave it alone. No, we are going to go through every single conference in some way, shape, or form throughout the course of this non-playing season, throughout the course of preview season even. And even in playing season, we're going to talk about different things every single day. Every Sunday we have a live stream that we'll be doing where we recap every single game, every single score that happened throughout the course of Saturday's action, or Sunday and Monday in the case of week 0 or week 1. We'll have every game, and we'll talk about every single team. We are not a front-running program here at Armchair Analysis. Well, and I mean me. I am not a front-running program. I like to cover everybody, like to talk about everybody, because it helps me when the transfer portal comes around. It helps me when when bowl season comes around. Look, I'm not that guy, but look, it's I think I pay more attention than most in terms of the world of college football. Now, when it comes to your team, you may know the intricate details of your team better than I do, and that's certainly reasonable. I don't expect to know everything about all 136 teams. If I did, I would be, well, I'd probably have a higher IQ. I just appreciate you guys tuning in. And look, again, I know I may not give you guys the answers you're looking for or the support you're looking for your team, but I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to sugarcoat things. I'm certainly not going to sit here and tell you something I don't believe. So I appreciate y'all for tuning in. Thank you guys so much. Hope y'all have a good rest of your day. Hope you guys have a good weekend if you don't tune back in tomorrow. But tomorrow we got Syracuse. I don't know why you wouldn't tune in. We're talking about Fran Brown. Hell, I may even shower before tomorrow's video. I'm just kidding. I shower every day. But it was a Fran Brown joke. If you don't get it, then ignore that. But anyways, thank y'all for tuning in, and we will see you tomorrow. The Syracuse Orange preview.